Good afternoon, my dear students. I'm making this video as a test run. If it works, perhaps this actually will go up for you to view and hopefully learn from. I'm here in my study, as you can see, an eclectic assortment of joy and wonder behind me. And yes, this is the way I live. Sad but true. So, tonight, I am hoping to give you a little bit of a rehash, and for those of you who were not in class and haven't been reading the material that I've sent across email, a bit of a once-over for some of the information related to the argument research paper. As a reminder, I know that I did give everyone a calendar. I know that I've emailed this to a couple of people. If you do run into trouble and if you can't open that file for whatever reason, please do contact me. I do want to try to get back on schedule, even though we're now working online and working through various and sundry electronic means, and that's not what you signed up for. Try to work with everyone as best we can and as quickly as we can, but please be patient, please be flexible. So, moving along, a couple of interesting pieces that have come through as people are sending me proposals. If you haven't sent me a proposal, I do actually need one. I'm an insecure person and I actually need to be proposed to. No, that's not what's going on, but what is going on is that I do need to know what it is that you plan to write about. If you plan to turn in a paper, and it's 25% of your grade, you do need to write this paper if you hope to pass the class. A number of you have. I've written back several questions, comments. These are not meant to dissuade you. These are meant to encourage you and meant to get you focused and thinking about certain aspects of this assignment in hopes that you will focus it, narrow it down, make it a good solid paper, but also give you things to think about to focus this particular paper on a tight subject, but on a subject that can actually make a good 4 to 6 page paper rather than something that would best work out into the 15 to 75 page paper, depending on the subject matter you're covering. So please do that. I'm going to create a little bit of a dialogue over this. There are 2 ETA assignments with this. Remember, the basics of this are simply to grab 2 of the research sources that you're going to use for this. We'll talk about quality research sources in a moment, but this information is found on the library's database. We're looking at the Gale Opposing Viewpoints database. I gave information about how to access that in one of the emails. Do ask if you are stuck with this or if you find it difficult to get to. Please do not just randomly Google information and hope it works. If you find something outside of the library's Opposing Viewpoints database, shoot it to me. I might just say yes. You don't know. So it's not a crazy idea to bounce something off of me. Please don't just throw it in your paper and hope I don't notice. I will notice, and I do have a tendency to check these things out. So the assignment is to pick a topic, get it approved by me, and then write a convincing argument for this. Now, as I mentioned before, this is not simply an opinion piece, and I do want you to stay away from the I statements or the I believe statements in this. I know for the last 2 assignments I've allowed you, and in some cases encouraged you, to use I statements because I was looking for your experience. In this paper, you're making a solid claim of fact. So it is a statement of fact. This is, for all effects and purposes, the truth. Not a fact, but the truth. There's a difference. So I do want you to stay away from I statements. This may be difficult, and I can help you convert an I statement into a claim, but it keeps you from writing opinion. I can give you an example in just a minute. If I were to say to you, I think smoking is bad for you. That could be interpreted as me simply saying, well, I don't think you should do it, but you should make up your own mind and try it if it makes you feel good. Because I'm really just telling you what I think. But if I said smoking is dangerous and can cause big health problems, then I'm not just giving you my opinion. I'm actually talking about something that is a claim that could be backed up by evidence. And for that, I'd need to actually provide good, solid research, which has been done. It's been done recently, and there is actually a bad habit that I'm illustrating here with herbal tobacco, not actual tobacco. It's part of the reason that I want you to do real research, and I've restricted some of that research so that you do actually use quality, vetted sources, rather than whatever might just show up on Google. So, to rehash some of the information we went over in the last class and give you a little bit more view on some of the differences here, I did mention a few pieces of basic vocabulary and the lesson contained therein. So I mentioned a few words, opinion, fact, claim, and evidence. The difference would be opinion, which I described as basically one's personal thoughts or feelings. We talk a lot about someone being entitled to their own opinion, but I also pointed out that not all opinions are valid. I might think and just say, I have an opinion. My opinion is that the Catholic Church ought to allow female priests, and I might want to throw a lot of things that I think are right about that, but the fact is I'm not a Catholic. And you might like my opinion and you might not like my opinion, but without me being a Catholic, my opinion shouldn't be taken as seriously as someone who actually goes to church every Sunday, or goes to Mass every Sunday to be specific. And so you don't have to listen to my opinion. Okay? A fact is the actual state of affairs. It's a verifiable truth. A point in arguing a fact is kind of irrelevant. You could argue the qualities of how a fact came to be, but it's still a fact. You can use facts to back up a claim, and a claim is the actual piece that we're working with here. A claim is a statement of fact. When you bring up something as a claim, it is incumbent upon you to provide evidence to back up that claim. So it is a supportable statement, a statement that bears arguing or debate. So let me give you an example here before I move on to evidence, because the two are intrinsically linked. Evidence, by the way, is facts, claims, reliable testimony, statistics, something that's going to support that claim. So recently, well, I guess hopefully it's been retracted, but recently on the Fox News channel, Geraldo Rivera apparently was seen to suggest that if you could hold your breath for 10 seconds, you apparently did not have the coronavirus. Now, he made that as a claim, something that could be tested, something that should, in theory, be offered up to Fox viewers as a test case, or as something that they could now have evidence, their own experience of having held their breath for 10 seconds, to determine that they didn't have this illness. The problem is that he made that spurious, that garbage a decision, or that he came up with this thing, or his information, where he got it, which I don't know where he got it, but the people who told him this, or he just made it up wholesale, were giving him false information, or he was simply spreading false information that he had just decided was true. Had he said, I think that if you hold your breath for 10 seconds, then you don't have the coronavirus, while it's still a completely shitty thing to do, he's at least not making he's not making it as a claim implying he has some sort of evidence to back this up. Now, there's no evidence to back that up whatsoever. So you can hold your breath for 10 seconds, but it doesn't prove anything except for the fact that you can hold your breath for 10 seconds. In my opinion, note that I'm stating an opinion, Geraldo's an asshole. Doing this on national television is dangerous. That was a claim. Now, if I wanted to write that in a way that warranted some sort of actual claim of fact, I could really be called upon, and I'm actually okay with being called upon, to defend the idea that that information that was given out puts Fox viewers in a place where they might be sick, but they believed because someone on their news channel who they have come to trust told them false news, fake news, garbage information that said, I can hold my breath for 10 seconds. That's what they said on the news. That's what a news person who I've come to respect said was evidence that I don't have the coronavirus. But now apparently I'm much sicker than I thought I was. And I didn't take any precautions. I didn't practice any sort of social distancing. I got everybody in my family sick, or my friends sick, but I didn't think I was sick because Geraldo told me that I could, that I could hold my breath for 10 seconds and now I'm not sick. So, without even actually doing research into this, just simply taking logic, I've actually provided a solid case that what Geraldo did was dangerous. That's not an opinion. That's a claim. That's a claim of fact. Now, did it happen? Has this case played out? I can't say that. So I can't provide a fact for this. I can provide a claim that with logic could be, it is plausible that this thing could happen. If it has happened, I don't know it. So I won't say that. But I will say that what they did was dangerous by providing dangerous claims of truth without evidence to back them up. So, in your paper, I want you to make claims, but then I want you to look them up, do research so that you're being responsible with the information that you're giving out. So that's where your research comes in. Now, you're not necessarily going to claim that something is going to be a cure for the coronavirus, and please don't do that unless you've got some sort of an evidence base to back that up that is a legitimate evidence base. If you do that sort of thing, tell me, or just contact the CDC. So, the difference between a claim and an opinion is that an opinion doesn't require evidence and really is kind of don't matter. Now, I like what you see behind me. This is how I like to live. I know a lot of people probably look at this and go, Jesus Christ, he's gonna kill himself in that strange environment. So, when you're looking at evidence, the three basic criteria for evaluating whether or not you're actually looking at quality information would be authority, recency or timeliness, and bias or sponsorship. Authority is one of the easier ones to talk about here. This is basic. There are other criteria, but these will get you through some of the basic pieces here. Does your author actually have the authority to make the claims that they made? So, who wrote this? Do they know what they're talking about? How do you know that they know? So, for example, and I used this one in class. I don't know anything about sports ball. I don't know anything about football, basketball. I know what a football is, but I have no idea how you get a home run in that game. I'm lost. So you should really not listen to me when I tell you that the Knicks are going to win the Stanley Cup in football. Don't bet on it, because I have no clue what I just said. But there's nothing out there that's going to stop me from setting up a website and charging you $1 for every bet you make on who's going to win major sporting events. If I charge you $1 for membership to Ben Martin's Sports Club, and you make bets for fun, no cash prizes or anything from me, but you're just saying, I'm going to bet on this thing. Oh, whoopee, you won. You get a, you get a signed Ben Martin card that just kind of says, yeah, you won. I don't know. I'm making this stuff up. It's legal that I can set up that website. And if you pay attention to it, well, you're really just not going to be educated in sports, because you're getting your information from some dude who's got a plushy fish with sunglasses on in his study. Okay? So I don't have the authority to make that claim. Now, you're talking to some people at ESPN, they might know what they're talking about. Okay, recency, timeliness. How old is this information? I can point you towards doctor's reports, medical testimony that says smoking's good for you. That as long as it isn't irritating what they call your T-zone, which is your throat, and down to like your down to like the base of your throat here. As long as you're not actually experiencing serious irritation, it relaxes you. It's actually good for your heart. The problem is that information came out in 1932. So we probably learned something about medicine since then. So don't smoke, kids. But that doesn't mean this information didn't come from a doctor. It's old. If you're dealing with anything to do with technology, to do with medicine, it's vital that we actually understand what it is and when it came out. So you've got to ask, is your information outdated? The first pieces of information that came out about the coronavirus from the White House were terrible. Really shouldn't surprise anybody, but we were hearing awful information. The information we're hearing now is a little bit better, so the information that came out first is outdated. That doesn't mean that it was responsible at the time. It just means that maybe the information we're getting now, at least out of the doctors that we're dealing with, is better information. And last one, bias, sponsorship. Who paid for it? What's the agenda of the people that are paying for it? This can be sometimes hard to find, but it is worth looking for. Okay, if you're dealing with information, and some of you are, about things like legalizing certain drugs or raising and lowering the drinking age, some of you are looking into actual established laws in order to offer changes or suggestions. If you're dealing with legitimate government or state websites, the agenda there really is to provide accurate information for people who are trying to understand and abide by the law, or for organizations to make certain that they're abiding by the law. So your agenda is vital here. Now, if I'm going back to if I'm going back to find an example here, one of the easiest examples that comes to my mind is the idea that if I'm shopping for a car and I want to find out how good the Toyota is, I'm probably not going to go to the Ford website to rank the Ford against the Toyota, because the information I'm going to get on the Ford website is going to tell me that the Toyota is just not a good car compared to the Ford. Subsequently, I'm not going to go to the Toyota website to find out how good the Ford is. Okay, I'm going to need to find something independent. Does that make sense? Okay, part of the reason that I want you to use information from the Opposing Viewpoints database is that you do have differences of opinion, but the agenda is not to lie to you. Okay, these are vetted sources. Now, we did talk about peer review. in that class if you missed it. And that is a process by which experts in the field in which your subject is being talked about have actually viewed and reviewed this information. Most information you can find that is from a scholarly journal or a more professional source. Now, this is not to suggest every professional source, but a scholarly journal, an academic source, will be peer reviewed. And that is actually it's a good way to just kind of say, I can trust this information. You can trust other information too, but this is a good way to kind of hedge your bets and kind of say, look, I know this is going to be pretty good information. Can you dig it? So, in one of the files that I sent you the interactive media bias chart. And I would like you to take a look at that. I gave you a quick project just to kind of see the difference between two different sources. Please do check that out. If you're looking at anything to do with news sources, anything to do with current events, this is a good way to judge what's going on. And I encourage you to check this out, not just for this paper, but also to get accurate, factual information about what's going on in your world. You have to live in this world, and it's worth it for you to have this information. So this is enough for right now. Please do send me those proposals if you've not done so already. Please do stay safe. I have to learn how to use my tongue again. Please do try your best to keep up with work. Communicate with me if you are struggling. I do actually want to see you all succeed. I know this is a very difficult time. It's very difficult to try to stay on schoolwork if you're not coming into classes and you're used to doing it that way. I'm working on this stuff myself, and it's not especially easy. So please communicate, reach out, and it is very okay for you to just send me an email that just kind of says, this sucks, because I'm kind of there with you, but we're all trying, okay? The school does have online apparatus, and even though the school is going to actually shut doors for a while, we are still here and we are still trying to make things work. It is okay to reach out. All right, hang in there. Do the best you can. I know you guys are all trying, okay? You got this.